happy Festival International, everyone. Thanks for showing up today. It's half the battle is just showing up, and appreciate that. So obviously today's panel is about the changing music industry, and I think one of the great things about this experience is that we're gonna talk to people who that change actually shows up in real careers. And so the great thing about this particular group that we've assembled, and thanks to ACA for hosting this, is they really kind of run the gambit as far as their experiences and what they do in the industry, and so I think it'll give us a nice cross-section of experiences. And Shirley, you want to add anything?
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. My name is Jonathan Shirley. So I am absolutely the odd person out, as I get represent the business college. How about that? But through working with Scott, and then really finding different ways to take, especially students who are in the arts or in education or graphic design or architecture, all these other spaces, and give them a glimpse of what entrepreneurship looks like. And that's more about how you live your life and more about how do you do what you want to do. And so that's why I'm excited about talking to all of you, because you're doing what you want to do while balancing, maybe I want to eat today. That would be cool. And so how do we start to do that? What we're thinking is, as we kind of go through, you can introduce yourself as you hit the first question, so we don't have to mess with that. But I'll start, Sean.
Yeah.
So we'll start. We're just going to go across this question a bit for everyone. What does it look like creating a sustainable music career now? So creating this career that you can live off of, a family off of, and actually sustain. What does that look like now? Yeah.
Hi guys, how you doing? My name is Brandon Nezey, professionally known as music producer, Mr. Fat. Born and raised right here in Lafayette, Louisiana. The way that looks for me is, I guess, adapting with the way business and art works together. Using technology is so easy. It's much easier now as far as networking, self-promotion, and creating awareness about the art that we create. So being that I started like in the 90s as a teenager, it was very hands-on. You had to go out and hand out flyers, you had to do talent shows, you had to be very visible. And now technology has made it to where you can become so much visible, so much further in a short period of time. And I think finding a balance between that is a good way to keep awareness of your art, business-minded decisions as far as what makes money, what doesn't, and just a way to stay more consistent. It's not as easy at all, but I mean, from my point of view of it, I feel like the more work you put in, the better results. You have to be very proactive when it comes to making people aware of the art and finding the niche crowd that is catered to your art. That way you're not wasting a lot of time promoting to everybody, so.
Hey everybody, I'm Joel Savoy. 20 years ago, founded a record label in Eunice, Louisiana called Valcour Records. I would echo the same thing, really, that Brandon just said. I think diversification in everything you do as a musician or as anybody in the music business is a business, and you have to do all the roles, and you have to be, I learned a lot from Tif and Gibbers actually, but I think it's important that everyone is aware of all of the different facets of something. Like the music industry, there's so many nooks and crannies, and to be aware of everything, I think, so diversification, like understand all of the different components. And I also think that, you're so connectivity is probably, today we have more access to connecting to other people and marketing, self-marketing. I think that's one of the most important things ever, just like the way that we can find, we have an audience. If you're doing something, you have an audience somewhere, you have to find them, you have to hone in, like localize, like figure out who these people are, and then you have to reach them. We can do that, but we just have to understand how to do that. So that's kind of my take on it.
Hi, I'm Kylie Gaspard. I'm in Cashier. My band is almost 4 years old. I think the concept of a sustainable music career is kind of funny because I think being comfortable with it actually not being sustainable and still being committed to your project is really important, and just like, you know, shooting your shot at every opportunity possible. And same thing that these guys said, like networking is really important, but also presenting your most authentic self to people. Like people value genuineness a lot, and especially in my experience in my scene, it's just like a lot of DIY rock people, so like they don't talk business as much, and it's just like show up to the gig and get paid and try to get someone to give you money for what you're doing, you know? So just, I don't know, having a good attitude and being a go-getter, like you'll get what you put out, exactly what Brandon said.
I'm Tif Lamson. I'm from Lafayette here, and I play drums, sing, songwrite, produce, engineer. The list goes on, and that is probably to my point of it's hard to make it in this industry, and so I think diversifying has been kind of, for me, a North Star in my career, keeping things fresh, because you have to follow the passion, and the minute you start doing something, like you were saying, that's ingenuine, I feel like people feel it, and I feel like you lose the magic in why you started something in the first place. And that's been super important to me personally. Everybody said really what I was going to say, so just continuing on that remark.
Kylie, I want to talk about something that you mentioned about like the authenticity piece and like shooting your shot, and like, so it's not even on the list of, we were already not on the things.
Yes, of course. I was like,
this took no time.
who's in charge?
But like, exactly. But one of my favorite pieces of entrepreneurship and why it works so well with in the arts is that you have to be okay with failure. And you have to be okay and fully embrace the fact that like this thing that I love and created might not be right yet, but I'm okay with that. And why I feel like it works so well in the arts is because you've got other people who are so scared because they want to perfect it. And it's always next month. Like it's always next month. Like next month is the best time for them to do it. Because it'll never happen. You know, as opposed to, so like whenever you mentioned like shooting your shot. So like when you're on stage, standing there, getting ready to start, what's that moment like? And from an authenticity piece, like how do you tap in so that you really show up?
I'm the one that is usually like talking to everyone, the sound guy, the stage manager, like whoever. So I'm already like, I hate to be like business minded right before, but I'm on the clock, you know, as soon as I even get to the venue, as soon as I start driving. Yeah, somebody has to be. So like to tap into that, I mean, to keep being myself while also like being the manager at the same time, like, you know, and then perform right after I talk to everyone. You know, you just kind of have to go with the flow and like just, I don't know, be really intentional with your steps to get there and your conversations with people, and like, you know, it's all about uplifting everyone in your band, uplifting the sound guy, uplifting the stage manager, just like, yeah, right? Sound guy's the most important person to get along with.
That's great. Like we've done with this other project that we've done, like it's the one thing that we talk about every single class that we're doing this music is like, well, the sound guy, we gotta take care of the sound. I'm just like having like no idea of music. That's what I learned pretty quickly, was like, oh, the sound guy is like the most important person there.
Yes, and most of them are pretty like jaded by having to do a million shows like every night. So if you're like that one guy that sticks out for like being gracious or super nice or really chill and easygoing, like our set is really easy to set up because we're just like guitars, two vocals, like they love that. When there's not like I mean, no shame to anyone who's using tracks, but like, you know, when you go to like a DIY venue, it's like, you know, we don't need anything, just do what you want, just don't turn the vocals too loud. Like, you know, it's pretty easy. And then, you know, performance-wise, like connecting with the audience through your art, you know, you don't necessarily have to be like talking to them the whole time, or like, you know, I don't know. I just feel like the art can speak for itself, and then afterwards, if they want to come talk to you, treat them like they're your friends, because they are, because they came to your show to see your art. So, yeah, and thank you. Yeah.
And that, you know, actually kind of what you said about just, you know, being gracious in those experiences, or just being kind, you know. It doesn't cost anything to do that, and yet those things, you know, carry weight. You know, I think of David Lowery with Cracker, and when he was with Camper Van Beethoven, he had mentioned about like writing thank you notes to radio stations that played them, handwritten notes, and how that elevated, you know, wanting people to do things for you, not because that was the prime directive, but it was just a kindness begets kindness to some degree. So obviously, all of y'all are on the kind of front lines of art and commerce, and y'all kind of, you know, arrived at your place because you were creatives. So with that being said, the business side, what was the biggest learning curve for you in learning the business aspect?
Oh man. Okay, so I'm gonna have a transparent moment right here. One of my biggest learning curves was when I produced the biggest song of my life. As musicians, as artists, we create from this space where I want to make something magical. I want to make something that the world loves. And then you finally mess around and do it, but you weren't prepared on the business part of that side. And unfortunately, you don't get to pause the world and say, hey guys, before this song goes on the radio, let me learn about all the music business stuff I was supposed to learn before I signed this contract. You don't have that time at all. Most of us learn after the contracts are already signed. A lot of us, you know, and I don't say that with any shame, because as musicians, we were only in the spectacle of creating. Let's be passionate about art. And then you meet this entity, this record label, this marketing department, and all they know is numbers and business. And we have to come to an agreement on how can you guys make my art do numbers. So the biggest learning curve I had to understand was that a lot of the art that creators make are, I don't want to use the wrong word, exploited maybe? Maybe exploited. Let me say, okay, used for commerce. And they don't share the same passion you share when it comes to the creation side. So learning that, I had to learn, okay, the biggest thing I have to do in the music business part, because now it's not just music anymore. I'm doing music business. I have to learn to protect myself. I had to learn about copyright laws. I had to learn about music publishing, publishing administration, royalty rates. These are all things that sound confusing when I was just in my mama's living room on a drum machine, right? But it was necessary for me to have a career and to not get discouraged and hang it up. So the learning curve was when I signed my biggest contract, and that was in 2007. And by the way, for anybody that might not be familiar, I'm the music producer for one of the most popular wedding reception, family reunion songs. If you guys ever heard the song that goes, to the right, to the right, to the left, the Cupid Shuffle, that's me. I produced that song and co-wrote that song with my childhood friend, Bryson Cupid Bernard from Lafayette. So definitely a learning curve, because it's all about numbers, it's all about profit, and you have to find the balance on how do I make this art still lovable by the world, but profitable to these companies. So I think my education in business really had to kick in if I decided I wanted to do this for life, because that's gonna become an important factor. Learning who gets paid, when they get paid, and how they get paid. There's a big understanding in how this whole music business thing works.
That everybody has to get paid. Everybody's gonna get paid, right? I mean, yeah, I would say the exact same thing you just said. I think I was a musician, grew up, my parents are musicians, grew up going around to festivals and stuff, and I was 26 years old. I was like, we should start a record label with some friends. We didn't know anything about it, but I've signed record contracts before. It was also this time where the music industry was shifting huge, like this is 2006. So, you know, physical sales are completely changing. There's no like real record contracts, but I'm old school. I grew up in the traditional folk world, traditional roots music. So I've been dealing with old school record people my entire life. So, that's kind of the model that I'm coming at this with. I'm like, okay, what's that hard? Here's some sample contracts. We got a lot of family friends that help me get going. I'm a musician, and it's like, okay, well, you're starting to meet people who were younger than you, who were doing this, who were really, they understand everything. They're like, no, we are going to own all of our own stuff. Of course, like it's, and so that was a learning curve for me, coming from this place where it's like the traditional version of a record contract where the label wants ownership and all this stuff, and figuring out a way to work with artists where they can retain their ownership and be empowered by that. And that was a huge thing for me, just figuring that out, and understanding how you just have to go with the flow, basically, and find a way for everybody to get a little piece of the pie. You're helping someone who's helping you, who's helping you. So that was a huge curve for me.
We talk a lot about making money from your art, and I feel like when you start making art, you don't want to give into selling everything. You're like, I'm making this because I'm an artist, and then if you want to be an artist for a living, you do have to sell your product, unfortunately. And sometimes when I first started doing it, it felt really demeaning for me to have to pitch my music as something to sell. Now I realize how privileged I am to even be able to have those conversations. But being able to humble yourself as an artist to sell your art is a big deal. It's kind of just the next step, and everyone can make art, but not everyone can monetize it. So, understanding the landscape of today's sales, which is just being an online presence or, trying to be, and knowing that people get success in different ways, people blow up on TikTok and just have one song on Spotify, and that song has 30 million listens, and they're set for the next year in terms of rent and bills, and just being excited to present that product to people and be okay with selling your stuff. That was a major mind switch for me, and also having deadlines was really big because I'm super slow at writing, and then all of a sudden someone needs 7 songs in a few months, and it's whoa, how fast can I get my work done and still be okay with what I'm releasing? That was, definitely a learning curve.
Yeah, I'd love to amplify that answer. And I think that was one of the biggest learning curves for my band Givers when we started. We were just kids, and we were just so excited to play and write, and we also took our time. And then upon blowing up, essentially learning the business of the contracts and learning how that rocky road went, and learning how to talk to even our record label, and they're trying to steer the ship, and we're like, but we built the ship. So do you know how to steer this ship? And I don't know the inside mechanics of this guy, but it felt it was, I can't even say we ever or even personally that I ever got there. I think I struggle with that all the time. And it's about knowing that this life is precious, but also not being precious about it sometimes. And being really in the moment of pulling out, zooming out, what is the big picture? Yes, being aligned with your morals and how you want to present yourself and your beliefs, but also being open to opportunities without it destroying your sleep. And wondering if I should, sometimes I wake up and I'm I should have done that Diet Coke commercial. I wish I would. I'd probably have a new car right now and it would be cool. But, back in the day, it was not cool to do that. So we said, no, thank you. That was way before bands were even doing commercials. And just to that sentiment of understanding the business, and it's ever changing, so it is an exhausting thing. And so I would just circle back to the idea of finding community within your musician friends and networking and really trying to understand it as it changes, and being adamant about finding mentors. That's been huge for me. You know, really taking care of those relationships so I could, you know, there's a manager that's really big, he'll never manage me, but I can call him and ask him some questions like, what do you think about this? This is totally out of my wheelhouse and I'm unsure. And you can get outside opinions on that, and that was really helpful for us getting to the next level and understanding what we need to do, and then also being okay with failure sometimes. Like acceptance is probably, like you were saying, one of the biggest parts of this industry, whether it's accepting of something happening too fast, or if you mess up, or if it's like, you know, keep it moving and try to be as graceful as you can in this surrendering.
So one of the things that stood out when you were talking about, like, I don't know if I'm there yet. Like, so much of it is, like, you think that, like, oh, it's like as if it's a box to check, right? Like, you're like, oh, got the business part down, like, cool. And then everything changes, and then now it's this, whether it's like, everything goes electronic, or everything goes this, or like, it's 1993, and like, someone tells you about the internet, like, whatever, like, everything, the moment you think that it's done, it's not done anymore. And so, similarly, fan bases are the same way. Like, you've never, like, took care of that, got the fan base. So, like, what does it look like now to try and not only build a fan base, but to cultivate it? Because it's not like it was at any point in time. It's not like it was yesterday. I mean, it will keep changing.
We could flip it around. That sounds good. Well, that band Givers is reuniting, and we're playing tonight at Festival, and we played yesterday at Jazz Fest, and the night before at Duluth Theater in New Orleans. And I have to say, it's been kind of a shock. Still in shock, even this morning, just to see old fans like flying in from across the country to see this reunion. And also, I had not bought merch for a band since our last show in 2017. So, ouch, that changed. Like, I was like, never mind, cancel the shirts. Nobody needs shirts. Why do people need shirts? They don't need shirts. It just became this, I was really in this, I felt like I was in a paradoxical situation where I'm like, whoa, things have completely changed. And I've been playing for other artists since that change. And coming back around, all of a sudden I was like, how do you promote shows? And what do I post? And how do I engage with these people? And it became I have to say, it was a mind melt. And I'm excited to hear how everyone is shifting.
To keep a fan or build a fan base, I don't know. Make art that you can stand by, that you're proud to present, and that people enjoy, even though that's extremely relative and subjective to whoever's listening. But acting normal is a big thing. Like, just like acting like everyone is just like someone you know, like, or like merch is important, yeah, like, but I feel like it's more important, like less important to promote, more important to like make money to get gas to your next location or like feed everyone for one night. But like, when I post, I run the Cashier Instagram page. I mean, when I post, it's just like how I would post on my normal story, like, hey, come watch me give my thoughts and opinions today at 11 at the ACA, or like, something like that. And like captions are very much like genuine, like, showing that you love everyone that you work with, and connecting with people on a genuine level, no matter the status of those people. Obviously with respect, but you should be respecting everyone in general. And so like, I don't know, just getting to know people beyond their title. And the title of fan is no greater than the title of a music manager, because if they're both at your show, then they're both fans, So, yeah.
This is so fun just listening to everybody speak. I would have come to this, I think, if I hadn't been speaking too. This is great. I think something that keeps coming up. Well, first of all, I want to say that failure and rejection are different. I think, you know, the word failure has been used several times when I think the word probably should have been rejection, because as an artist, there's creating with intent and integrity. You don't fail. You're going to do, and that's something that's across the board. Everybody has intent about what they're doing, and that's what, you know, this genuine feeling that people pick up on. That's why Aretha Franklin sounds good on an MP3 or with the smallest little like 8-bit, whatever you put it on, it's going to sound good, because she was putting everything into that recording. It wasn't, you know. And I love that idea. It's like she was just giving it all, just like all of us all the time. In whatever we're doing, if we're creating music, running a record label, any of the recording studio, any of these things, I think just that genuine care, just the respect for everyone around you, the people that you work with, take care of the sound guy, blah, blah, blah. And I think, you know, we recognize this, and as artists, we all pick up on, okay, these are the people that care about us. They're the ones that are paying our bills. We need to take care of these people. As I was saying earlier, connecting with people is easier than it ever has been, right, with the internet. I will say that I think the way that a fan interacts with the artist has changed a lot. We all know this, but I love seeing, I hate to say Kickstarter or GoFundMe or any of this stuff. I love seeing crowdsourced stuff though. You know, I like, because as a fan, you like this artist. I want to contribute, but I'm gonna go in my car and listen on Spotify to your song. Like, and you're not making any money off of this, but I do want to like buy something from you. I want to go to your show. You know, all this stuff. But so finding how to connect with these people and how to, and that's what I think this idea of crowdsourcing is really beautiful, and I always encourage people to self-release and to get their fans engaged and be part of it. I think, you know, this is the time for that kind of stuff. And I mean, honestly, it's ever shifting, and I'm just really kind of blown away to see all the different ways that people interact with their fan base and to watch these relationships grow.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie with y'all, I'm having a struggle with this shift. Because I grew up very shy. I was what, quote unquote, what people would say anti-social. So like my kryptonite would be social media, right? And you would think, okay, let's take this shy kid who's really dope at making music, and hey man, you gotta get out into the world and show people who you are. And it's like, I don't want to do that, you know, but it's like, it's become necessary. And to kind of spin off what Joel said, is like, fans have to connect with us as people, too. That's part of the promotion now. Like, I don't want to just look at your art. Like, I want to know what kind of shoes you wear. Like, what do you make for breakfast? And it's like, okay, well, I made cheese, eggs, and sausage, but I never thought to just pull my phone out and was like, hey guys, look at this dope breakfast I made. But we're at a point where that's, you know, it's intriguing, you know. And I come up from the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. I remember Michael Jackson and Prince and, you know, Madonna and Sting. I didn't know what these people ate for breakfast. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't a part of my mind because they were larger than life. And now I think with social media and connecting to fans these days, I feel like it's kind of like we're dancing on a fine line of the mystique of an artist, because we know so much about them now. It's like when I was a fan of Michael Jackson, like, you only saw Michael Jackson when he hit the stage. It's like you don't see him every day, Monday through Friday. So when he pops up at the Super Bowl and people pass out, you understand why. It's because we only saw this guy on TV and magazines. Now I see him in the flesh. He doesn't look human to us. But now it's like, could you imagine Michael Jackson on social media? What's up, guys? I'm eating popcorn with hot sauce this morning. How y'all doing? And then he just goes to the studio and it's like, wait a minute, like, you know. So I guess it's like, it's a fine line of how much do we share with people? How much do we wait till they see us in person to care? I think that's the balance I'm fighting with. because a lot of my work is done in studio. So I'm not usually the guy in front. I mean, I'm a music producer, I'm also a rap artist as well, so it's kind of like, you have to find a line, like, you know, kind of like what Kylie said, it's like, you have to meet people and find them and say, hey guys, would you like to take a look at this? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta push yourself to get in front of those people, but I think what it does is it challenges us as artists to say, okay, what are you willing to do to bring more connection to your system? Like, how do you make people feel like they're a part? And I get it now, because now you want to remind yourselves that the fans are people just like you. You know, they wake up in the morning, they go to work, they're passionate about something just as you, just like you. So finding that connection between your fan base and bringing them into your world through your art, I think is what's become one of the big priorities these days with building a fan base. You have to have a connection with your fans that reminds them, okay, I see myself in her when she sings. I see myself in him when he raps. I understand it's prevalent to me now. I come from where he comes from. I identify with what he's searching for in his songs, something like that, to that nature.
So obviously, social media is like one of those necessary evils that we have to deal with, you know. And another one that's sort of, we're in the shadow of right now is AI, obviously. So I'd be curious to know if there are any ethical uses of AI as far as music business is concerned, whether it be, and where AI maybe draws the line. There you go.
Awesome. I was so hoping at you first. I could feel it. Oh man. You know, I'll be honest, I was not looking forward to this question. I've had just the worst time dealing with it as an artist. You know, I've met multiple people that, I'm not even kidding, come up to me and say, oh yeah, oh you write songs? I wrote 100 this week. I'm like, cool, good for you. And they're making more money than me because they, you know, got a deal with some stupid commercial company that they just want them to input their prompt and refine it slightly. They have no idea what they're doing. And then that's the jingles that you hear on your stupid ads on your stupid phone. Anyway, wait, bring it back. You know, we have to adapt. I'm sure people have felt this way whenever, you know, we were shifting to the internet, but also, yeah, I'm a pushback type of girl. I mean, I do studio sessions, I've lost many now. This is the first year that I've lost, you know, someone says they want me to come play vibraphone on a track, and they show me a demo that they made. And it's a background instrument, and I said, oh cool, who did the demo? Sounds good. Whoops, I said that out loud to them, and they said, oh yeah, that's true, never mind. There goes hundreds of dollars for me. So that's happened to me personally. That's my personal experience with it. I have used it to review an old contract to see if I was indebted to my old record label. That's the one time I've used it. And it helped me in that moment. That was like, to me, like a logistical business thing. I don't have a manager at the moment. We've parted ways, and so I needed an answer. Otherwise, I've not made friends with it. I really don't understand. And I'm open to hearing people talk about it. I'm open to like understanding, and I know that I don't hold the torch of knowledge, and I don't really care to. I don't care to be like the person with the speaker saying like, this is how you use AI, or this is how you shouldn't use AI. I don't know where we're headed, and I definitely know that we don't care about the environment. That's been obvious in our humanity existence on Earth. I think a lot of people need to get there. If we could use AI to care about the environment, let's go. That would be amazing. I think that would be incredible, and I would do everything I could in my power to make that happen. But I don't have an answer.
Is that a good answer?
Sounds like you had an answer.
I also wasn't looking forward to this question either, because I'm also really like against using AI. Like, definitely from an environmental standpoint, it's been quantified, like every ChatGPT search costs 3 bottles of clean water. And we have data centers here in Louisiana where our agriculture is already in such a like precarious way that like, you know, we're eating away at our like rich environment that we like, you know, you want to put it on like posters and tourist stuff, well, it's gonna be gone, like if we keep using this kind of thing. I do think that AI removes an artist's personability from the art, or persona, or whatever, personal touch from the art, and it shows when people hear it, and like, you know, I feel like we're kind of like heading in a good direction, because I feel like most of the people I talk to are pretty like against using AI, or like you can tell online when like, if something's AI, all the comments are like, get this AI slop off my algorithm, or like, you know, whatever. And it's just, like, what artists use it for, usually to me, like, I'm okay with being lazy, like, a little, but like, you know, we should be outsourcing other artists to help us. Like, you know, when you see these like festival flyers and it's just like a crazy AI like poster, we should be supporting local artists, paying them for their work, and getting their art recognized by other locals. And you know, I personally have never used it. I have the AI search option on Google turned off. You know, like every chance I can get to turn it off on any app, like it's off, because it's just so, I don't know if there is an ethical way to use AI. I mean, it's cool, like in a sci-fi way, where all the movies made it seem like super awesome and dystopian, but it is dystopian, and I don't think we want to live that in real life. So
the first 15 minutes of the movie, and then
yeah,
the rest of the movie is
I would rather a flying car over like an AI robot or something. And you know, they wanted to replace valuable jobs taken by humans, and you know, if it was used for something that actually benefited us as people, like that would, you know, be more okay. And if it didn't take away from the earth, you know, that would also be more okay, but they haven't found a way to do that yet. And for some reason it has to be clean water to feed the data centers. So I don't know, I'm pretty against it. I don't think it's ethical, and I don't want to shame anyone that's used it or will continue to, but you know, I would encourage you to have empathy for where we live, and encourage you to outsource for, I don't know, real art. Yeah.
I was just going to prompt ChatGPT to answer this question for me. Y'all all know that, I mean, the human race is going to embrace this, and we're going to go down this hole, and it's going to be what it's going to be. It's never going to be people sitting together creating music or creating songs from experiences. We all know that. It's not going to be that. It's a useful tool. I can't say I really know anything about it. I searched something on Google. It's helpful. I looked, I was like, I need a contract that says this, 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 but not this. It does it, you know. Then you get maybe an attorney to look at it or something. But we all know that this is a thing that's happening and coming, and it's going to start infiltrating every aspect of our lives. And I mean, I'm completely against it when somebody says, hey, I wrote this song with AI. It's like, hey, you didn't write a song with AI. You did this. That word means something. You did not write a song. It's just not even a thing. It's like, I think, and we all understand this. It's kind of just a goofy conversation we even have. It's not the same as creating, you know. So I think, you know, at least creative types, we're all on the same page probably about that. I know that it's going to get used, and I'm not afraid of it. I'm not like, I don't want to shy away from it. It's like one of these things, you can't just like not use it, you know, because it is the future. We know that freaking everybody's just going to jump on this train, so you might as well learn how to use it, and learn how to embrace it, and learn how to harness it for stuff. What that means, I don't know. I don't know anything about AI. I'm trying to be on the computer as little as possible these days, but that's all I have to say about it.
I'm gonna add on to what you said. the conversation with AI and creation kind of reminds me of, I'm showing my age. Y'all remember when 1999 came and everybody was talking about the Y2K on computers, and we all thought our computers was gonna explode at 12 o'clock because the clocks was gonna be off and something. And it's like, I think it's just a new technology, and it kind of looks like a threat to people who are passionate about creating from the soul and the spirit. We know computers don't have that. So I do think that's one thing it will never replace. It will never replace passionate, soulful creations. And as long as there's other souls walking on this earth, we'll always have another soul to connect to. So I think we'll always have a place for our art and our creation, because we make it from a space that computers just don't. They actually feed from what we create. They learn from what we create. So I look at it as we're still in control, because they get their information and they learn from our actions. I do think it can be used as a tool, not as a replacement, like what she said. Like, I do understand, because man, just to share a little bit more, I ran a full-fledged music studio inside of the Northgate Mall for the past 10, 11 years, and for the past 2 years, I had to walk away from it. And that was one of my main sources of income, and it's just become to the point where kids and people can record on an iPad now. You know, I can record on the microphone of my MacBook Pro, send it to the engineer, and get a decent enough amount of quality in my music where it can stream on Spotify. Now, that's a threat to somebody like me who invested tens of thousands of dollars into analog equipment and stuff that people don't even want to hear about on the side, the technical side, but they love the results it brings, right? And I do think it's gonna go back. Like, I think a lot of things work in cycles. So I do think AI is just something, a moment in time that we're experiencing, but I don't think it's gonna be an end all be all. You know, I kind of look at it like, just like I'm watching people starting to print music on vinyl again. They're selling record players in Walmart again and stuff like that. So just the fact of this rediscovery of something that used to exist at a certain period of time, I think it's still important that we create even for that purpose. We should still create even for the purpose of rediscovery. 10 years from now, somebody might want to know what your song sounded like. They might want to know how you ran your record label. Somebody might need to see a human example of what it used to be. So I look at it from that point. Like, I don't think it is a threat. I do think, now I'm just learning about the environmental side about it. You hit me today, so I gotta go look up what you said. I didn't know about that part about it. And I do think, you know, we have to find a way to use it as a tool to assist instead of a tool of replacement.
I have one, I think, just real quick. Based on what you're saying, my wife was telling me something about this the other day too, but this idea, so it's artificial intelligence, right? But what is intelligence? Is like, okay, for us, you know, like, oh, well, this is just some calculation that a calculator or the computer can do, right? So that's not really what intelligence is. This thing can just do it really fast. It's great. It's a tool we use. What can it not do? That's the important thing. And that's this connection. That's this thing that we can all share. We can all connect as individuals across all kind of ideas and things that the computer can't do. So I think, you know, that is our safety. That's the thing that it's not intelligent about at all. And I just think that's the beauty of, you know, of life and the way that people create.
Well, one of the things that Scott talked about, like, I like the decent. Like, it'll make something decent. Like, it's good at average. It's designed to be average. And it's designed to be like, take all this and take all this and we keep something right in the middle. So you'll never be like, oh, that was bad. They'll always be like, hey, that's fine. Which provides the opportunity to make great. Because it can't make great. It can't make really good. All it can do is make average. And it feels like it almost has given new opportunity for people who choose to say that I'm just going to give you all the things that this thing could never give you. It could never give you a smile. It could never meet with you after a show. It could never, you know, and now that's our connection in our relationship that it's too real to be anything else. So it's interesting. I feel like it almost has given, not new life, but it has re-energized personal connection in some ways. And so, like, if you can be that person and be fully authentic, in some ways, I wonder if it has filtered out real stuff that was being faked, which is, I don't even understand what I just said. Like,
Kind of follow that.
yeah, but like if you weren't being authentic,
Right.
now, like, you're no different than that.
Right.
So
Yeah, there you go.
you might as well be human, and see, because it's going to get you a lot farther.
You know, somebody described AI as the past being polished. Yes. Somebody described AI as being the past polished off and sold to us as the future. And I thought that was an interesting concept. And just so you know, I'll say, if you heard it, you heard it from me. But I think one of the things hopefully everyone here understands is that with AI and creation, you know, we're still guarded by copyright law, which means that human authorship is an important component. And if it's not human authored, then anything created with AI is not copyright protected. With that being said, you know, people create stuff in AI and then sample that, because sample clearance is a whole other business of crap, in the sense of, like, even if you had the earnest intention of wanting to clear your samples, you could not. The industry just doesn't allow you to do that, even if you contact all the right people. I remember trying to clear an interpolation by Calvin Harris, and there were 8 publishers on this song. I got in touch with 7 of them. They all said, fine, just add us as a songwriter. And the 8th was Calvin Harris's, and of course I couldn't, it was impenetrable, so. But I think, you know, I asked that question about the ethical uses mainly because with guest speakers at UL that I have, a lot of artist managers use it for synthesis of data and making sense of all the metrics. So I was just curious, was there a role, an ethical role, where, like, you can route a tour for venues of your size, you know, because that data is out there. It just, you could obviously not do that. I should. I'm thinking about it. But so I'd love to kind of bring it closer to where we are in this culture in Lafayette and our musical heritage that we all share. And I'm curious to know from 2 points, how has this musical environment influenced you, and what have you taken away from it? And then also, what would you love to see within the music ecosystem here that would benefit artists, as well as people who are interested in the industry? Moving away from AI. Doing that. That's good.
I'm going to start with somebody who still lives here.
All right.
Me? Nobody else lives here. Growing up here, I mean, you know, we're obviously talking about community a lot. We live in a very hospitable area where we are social and we like to have a good time and we like to hang out and party and have fun. And, like, you know, when we go on tour, I just feel like the difference in how we act around other people than, like, someone from, like, New York. Like, you know, we're way less standoffish. We are way more friendly and just, like, yeah, care about making friends and being genuine. In terms of here, locally, I mean, we have great venues. I wish that we had more all ages venues that, you know, I think that, like, young people should be listening to live music. It's like, imagine, like, a 14-year-old who just wants to rock out and, like, they can't go to any shows. And, you know, we've got 2 all ages venues here, and both of them take a huge percentage of the door, which there's no reason we
What
really
are those venues?
name them. Feed and Seed takes 40% of the door. And the Devil's Den is a new venue, and they take 50% of the door, which to me is extremely exploitative I support venues, like, no matter what, like, you know, I support business owners, and if that's, like, how you're gonna make money for your business, then, like, you know, I wish you best, but, like, that's just not sustainable or ethical, or, you know, I feel that's very exploitative for the artist who is pulling in the audience. Like, there's no built-in audience for these places. It's the artist that brings them in. So, you know, and I believe artists deserve to get paid. So, you know, that's something that could be changed. I understand, like, paying the sound guy and paying the door guy, like, you know, or, like, you know, you have to take $150 for, like, renting space or whatever. That's fine. But, you know, I think all ages venues would be good. I also think living in a place that is open container kind of hurts artists a little, because everyone wants to stand outside and drink and smoke cigarettes during your set. So, you know, I want to, like, champion Lafayette as a place that touring bands can come and they will have a successful show. So, you know, we try to bring as many people in our scene here as possible, but, you know, you bring a touring band here, nobody knows them. Oh, I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette outside and drink my beer. And, you know, that's all fine, but I would love to, you know, create a culture where locals want artists to come here as well. So the only way to do that is by being in the room when touring artists are playing. I don't care if you're in there for my set, but because I live here and you guys can see me whenever. But, you know, like, I just think all of us need to be on the same page of supporting touring acts. You know, that doesn't mean just giving them the cover at the door. It's like, buy their merch, be in there during their set, so they don't feel like they're just some random nobodies that played in a show with, like, 10 people inside, but there's, like, 55 people outside chilling. And, I mean, sometimes the mix sounds great from outside with a cigarette and a beer, but, like, you know, it's better to be a body in the room. So I would say those things, cultural.
I think the same thing, more things for the youth. Put your phones down and get off your computer and actually go hear a band. That's awesome. Like, I got to grow up traveling around, playing music, meeting people my age that were doing the same thing at festivals and things, and I want everybody to have that experience, just to get out there. And we didn't have fun. We didn't have, you know, somebody posted something about what school looked like before phones, and it was just people hanging out. And I just love that idea, like people going out and doing stuff. When I was a teenager in Eunice, 35 miles north of here, there was nothing happening, and there was no place to go. But we wanted to hang out, we wanted to party, we wanted to play music. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have a party, and whoever I know is gonna come, and we're gonna get together and play music, and it became a thing. We just created our own world because we wanted to hang out and play music. So I say this all the time, but, like, you look at somebody on a stage, right? So what did it take for that person to be in front of these people playing this music right now? For there to be anyone there watching? It's like that person had to learn what they're doing. They had to get there. They had to buy the stuff, to, you know, whatever. They had to do all of this stuff. And sometimes, because playing music is fun, people look at it, they're like, well, they're not working, or that's not a real job, or something. You know, we all get this all the time. It's like, it would be nice that if people understood, like, I would love to see the state of Louisiana, like, support its artists better in a way. I mean, they try to do little things, but, like, Louisiana is extremely popular for tourists, for cultural tourism. It's huge here, and it's not, without the music, it would be very different. I would just say that. And I think that the state could probably do a lot more, maybe even set a precedent and, like, do something really cool. I would love to see that. I mean, y'all know people telling them this is, you know, but that's what I would like to see. But I definitely think more things for the youth would be incredible, all across the board.
So I went to the state to advocate, and they did not have a quorum. So I had to leave. So, just so you know. But yes, like, no, but it's to your point. It's like we need some assistance. It's low-hanging fruit, and yet you deal with
We're out there all the time on the road spreading the gospel.
Exactly.
I feel the same exact way, and I think we all champion the same idea because we were once all young, aspiring artists and aspiring creatives. I would like to see more up-to-date, hands-on curriculum in the schools. I think a lot of the kids don't get the privilege to work on honing their performance skills and learning how to be in front of a crowd at such a younger age. When I was young, we had talent shows, we had showcases hosted by the radio station where you were 13, 14 years old, you had to get the butterflies quick, get it over with, because you go on stage and it's like, I think that missing piece of the performance aspect with the younger crowd is missing. And I want to say maybe because technology might have robbed us from that, because we can just set the camera up, perform in front of the phone, and in the bedroom with the music playing and get a good response, and it's like, but you're missing that human connection. So if I had anything to do with it, I would like seeing more type of talent showcasing for the teens and the youngest, because man, both my kids went to LJ Alamo, and they had this type of program where, they did traditional concerts, symphonic band training, not so much marching, that's high school, but they also had like this rock band ensemble they put together. And I mean, dog, one of these kids got up and played Johnny B. Good on the lead guitar, and I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying? It was just amazing to watch, because the youth are so amazing when you see how gifted they are at such a young age. And I wish we could have more programs or some type of opportunities to put that on Front Street earlier. That way, by the time they turn 19 and 21, they don't feel like it's going down a dead-end street, Because instant gratification made it look like, well, if you're not touring and doing 30 million streams a month, you're pretty much a nobody, and it's those numbers have defeated the purpose of us just finding the joy in creating and performing, and I know we see it a lot when it comes down to festival time. There's a performer on every corner, you know what I'm saying? I wish there was a performer from Lafayette, from Eunice, from Carencro, from this band from Delcom that we never heard about, you know what I'm saying? I wish it was more put on Front Street for our local talent, and I do understand it's a business too. A lot of the up-and-comers, we don't make the money out the gate, so I know that is a factor, but it's like, if we could have some type of implementation where the younger crowd gets more exposure in front of the culture that we're known to have out here in Lafayette, if we could somehow find a way to do that and connect it to our veteran acts, that have been here for a while, I think we would see a big surge if we could connect the past with the future, present.
And I mean, I would encourage, there's some wonderful nuggets here. Obviously, the transparency in deals that you have with venues. A lot of the deals are really shady until it's after, and then you're finding out what percent of the door they got. So there's a lot of it within the infrastructure that we can improve, and performance. How many times have you read a post from an artist who recorded something in their studio that they have to learn how to perform as they need to go out on the road, and it just happens too much. And I think performance and creating the music and people seeing that is such an inspiring part of what you all do. I would love to open this up to some questions from the audience, if you have any. We have some wonderful individuals here, so if there's anything that y'all be interested in asking, please do.
So I'm Leanne Broussard. I manage bands, I guess, starting in 1979. Been managing, also a music critic, I'm a writer. And a lot of what y'all have talked about has so affected me, the whole writing thing with AI crushes me, because I'll spend time writing, this, what's in my heart about a show or about a musician. And I've written in publications all my life, but now suddenly it's stopped. Because if I don't put out a story fast enough, the editors will go just to AI and do a story. So I totally relate to that. I'm also a percussionist, and I think, speaking to your point about young people, I'm a teaching artist here at ACA. I've seen so much talent in the schools. And I teach them how to be leaders. I just teach drumming and any kind of percussion stuff. but I give them an opportunity to stand up before the group and take a leadership role. And I tell them, this will help you if you want to go further with your career. So that's been really cool too. But AI is crushing. You know, it's so different. I came up in Lafayette in 1979, so I've been dealing with musicians since that time. I remember when Lafayette, every night of the week, you could see maybe the same group playing at a venue where they could sustain themselves, you know, as far as their living goes. But there were so many places that we could go and see really great music. So I was just wondering, you know, how do we further develop our musicians here? I work with singer-songwriters with Acadiana talent. We start out with young people. We have a stage here at the festival. But how do we get support from the veterans? How do we get people to come see what's new and upcoming? I guess that's kind of my question, because I want to help develop that.
I actually work at School of Rock here, so their whole recital is like putting on a rock show or a themed rock show, and it gets the kids like performing like in a real way, like how they would on stage. And a big focus for me at that school is like if a student shows an aptitude for creating, like let's write your music, let's get you a band, let's set up something. And 2 of my student bands are actually performing tomorrow, a band called 5 AM and a band called Digger. And I teach all those kids at School of Rock, and you know, we are starting a songwriting program this summer where, you know, we're just gonna sit down and create and learn to critique each other and have productive conversations around art and looking at art subjectively. And it's gonna be really awesome. And I think that like pushing them to go out and getting them to learn how to promote at all is gonna be a very important lesson. And then from there, their parents are gonna come see them. Their parents have friends who are gonna come see them. You never know who the parents' friends are. And I think just giving them the confidence to perform their own music will kind of instill in them this like, oh, I can kind of like go out and do this on my own. And encouraging older people to, you know, actually listen and like give like, you know, these students the time of day is another thing, because, you know, we kind of get wrapped up in our own like echelon of artists here. So, you know, I don't want anyone to gatekeep any part of the scene. And just being like passionate about young people making music, how to instill that into older people, I don't know, leading by example, I suppose, and just, you know, actively supporting young artists. And, you know, we're not gonna be relevant forever. So it's like, if you want your, I don't know, legacy to like move on, invest in young people and go to their shows. And then if they see someone cool like you being at a show, oh, that's cool, I kind of want to go see what this is all about. Yeah, just showing up, supporting, teaching, and learning from them, totally.
Just want to reiterate what you were talking about, because that's what I was saying from, is you know, the ACA is so supportive of the schools. They're in the schools all the time. Joe Carrier is now an artist and goes into school every week. I've reached an age of feeling like a historian, but all you're all familiar with ACA's Crossroads series, most of y'all have that. Crossroads began at the old place, and we would sit around with some folding tables, but that artist that came to perform that week spent a week in the schools, and that was all part of the grant. So when you talk about a cycle and where we are, that was where that began, and then it developed into a wonderful program that's very supportive. But if we remember that the roots of that were the kids and going into those schools, so go back. Legislative-wise, it's a challenge, but there are people who will listen. I think we'll get there. My question is I've lived with I'm a real estate broker for 50 years, so I've seen all of the venues, but I have survived on the music clubs, the 5 music clubs here. I've worked with the Blue Moon Down. And I heard what y'all said about you know, the music, and everybody has a different way to do it. You know, I wonder how y'all need to be. I think my question is, as artists and performing artists, what do you need from the live music clubs? We have to save them. We keep losing them. But how do we save the live music clubs? And what do you? I think you hit on it a little bit. The door, okay.
Yeah, but you got to have an audience too. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm
people have to be engaged. They have to be motivated to go out and hear music, right? I mean, that's. I don't think I need a mic.
Yeah.
But we need an audience. People, and it's happening everywhere. It's not just like it's Lafayette.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everywhere. People just don't leave their house as much as they used to because they get a lot of entertainment on their phones. So how do you engage people? I don't know. I have no idea what the answer to that is, but that's what needs to happen.
We're gonna work some.
It's not a lack of music or musicians or wonderful
I
creative
think in
people.
Louisiana we could use more grants. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I'll travel to Europe and Canada. All my friends over there have grants. Almost all of those musicians are not feeling what the impact of the economy is as America. And I mean, as much as like, I agree, I think we need to find a way to pay the artists more, but those kids don't buy alcohol, and that's the only way those venues are gonna stay open. So they have to take 40% of the door. They're forced to, or they will close, and then the kids really won't have a place to go. And I'm like, oh, Louisiana is such amazing culture. It would be nothing without the music. I mean,
They need to be subsidized.
yeah, they need to be subsidized. They need to be like, there needs to be grants that support the musicians and the venues. I mean, Festival International is free. I mean, you know, how do we get people to buy a little pen even to support it? I know people that have gone for 15 years. I'm like, you have a pen? They're like, oh, I've never bought one. I'm like, sounds like you had a nice 15 years of free music. It's really crazy. I have friends that are some of my more successful, richer friends. They're the ones asking for their door list. They want to be on the guest list.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I'm like, it's a price of, at this point, you know, yeah, maybe a pair of shoes, but your shoes look clean. You know, it's like, it's crazy now. And I think that's really the question, is like, how do we engage people to get out, especially since COVID? We have our phones, everybody's watching that, and I think everybody's become a little more socially awkward because of these social media apps, you know? You present yourself in a certain way, and people, yeah, it's like, how do I present my entire personality on Instagram? It's like, I don't, and I don't want to, and there's something that's like important about that engagement, but it is a question, and I think that does wrap into the whole AI thing of like, how do we become more human again? You know, I think that's a huge question, and you're right, it's a problem, and I think it would be nice if we have government that cared about the arts and music, but we see that is not the truth here, so how do we kick those people out and get the people in that care about arts and music and connecting?
And I think the pushback against AI is going to help with that probably, you know, I think it's...
If we're still around, you know? Like, they're using AI for the military now, and will be the end. So it's like, how do we curve that quicker? You know, we can keep saying, like, we can be positive about it, we can keep talking, like, in a way, but, I mean, the military industrial complex is using AI for warfare. So we have to, like, it's not just about, oh man, people writing songs with it. It's a much deeper conversation than we could even have in this building with whatever 5 minutes like we have left. But I encourage you to talk to other people about it. Personally, I'll be shaming people that use it. I think it's important. I think it's important to say, oh, you're writing a song with AI? I think you should stop doing that. I don't think that's cool. And I think it's like really bad for the environment. And let me educate you. You know, we used to have discussions where it's not like black and white or like red and blue. Like, I'm not gonna say, screw you if you use it. I wanna have a discussion. I wanna understand you. I think we are missing a lot of that in our community.
I also wanted to mention to the venue thing, Louisiana is such like an alcohol-driven place. Alcohol sales worldwide, people aren't drinking anymore. They've gone down 84% worldwide, which is great for our bodies and health. You know, it is poison, but like, you know, and it's okay in moderation or not, whatever you choose. But You know, how can venues make money not selling alcohol without ripping off the artist is really difficult. So like these all ages venues, like yeah, they aren't gonna sell alcohol except for the parents, or at least one parent, the other parent drives little Timmy and the wife home. You know, it's like, it's not making money anymore. So we need to find a way to get venues money. Yeah, the government's not gonna pay for it. It's just not anytime soon, and without major reform and people who care about creatives, like it's just not gonna happen right now. I think another way, like, to bring people in is proper promotion, which means like, you know, get someone to make a cool flyer. Usually bands can do it. Tag the bands in the post. I find that venues are never tagging bands ever. So like, you know, or make a collaborative post. I know this is all like social media learning curve, but like, it's just 2 buttons. So, you know, and like, we play at the Luz Caboose a lot. I love that place so much, and you know, artist gets 100% of the door, but they do pretty well in alcohol sales, because it's just like, being a dive bar is like the whole bit of the place. But you know, they'll post a flyer and not tag any bands, and like, you know, they'll post it on the day of. The flyer needs to be posted 2 weeks in advance, and all the bands need to be tagged, and so that they can share it on their story. If it's a collaborative post, it gets more interaction because everyone that's playing it's on their main grid, or you know, it's posted like as if they posted it. So I don't know. The little amount we can do is just like proper promotion, and just try to find another way to make money that isn't alcohol, because it's not selling anymore, unfortunately.
And I'm going to reiterate that one of the important kind of themes is this collaboration and community. And it goes without saying, but everybody who came here today, you should leave, before you leave, is talk to another person and find out what they're doing, because you might see that there are overlaps and ways that we can all help and assist one another, but we don't do that until we communicate with one another and share with one another. So I would wholly encourage everyone to just, before you leave, introduce yourself to one other person and see what they do. And I'm gonna shout out the heavy metal community, because they're one of the few communities that actually like stay for every band. Like other genres don't do that. They'll go and smoke and drink when another band's playing. But the metal community, and I'm not a huge metal head, they are there for the music. And so there's something to be learned about that experience.
So I think my question is going to kind of fall in line with the conversation we're having. There seems to be a schism that's developed between in the ecosystem, the music ecosystem, between the artists, the venues, and the public, the consumer of the product. I think most of them struggle with putting a value on their art. Have y'all ever had a moment in your careers where you either had a realization that, wait a minute, I mean, I find musicians and artists struggle with this a lot, putting a value on our art or their art. And have you ever had that moment where you came to that epiphany in your careers that, I mean, look, the venues struggle to charge a proper price, the artists struggle to ask for a proper price, and the public struggles to pay for it. Have y'all ever had a moment in your careers where you realized that, hey, I might not be putting as much value on my art as I should be?
I have to say, I mean, Lafayette, I mean, look at New Orleans. People play New Orleans, they'll play like 5 gigs with no cover charge for tips or whatever in one day, you know, or play on the street. We're at least here, Lafayette is a place where there's a cover charge to go and hear a band.
Right.
So, you know, that's great. That's one thing that we do have here. I think, you know, and I'm just shouting this out, but if you're not gonna go play the gig, somebody else is gonna, because they need the money. That's
right.
How it always is. It's just like any other job. If you're not gonna do it for this fee, somebody else will. So if you want the gig, a lot of times you just have to take it. It's hard to charge what you think you're worth.
Right.
You could never possibly, what do they say, it's like musician will load $50,000 of equipment into a $5,000 or $3,000 car and go play a gig for what, like
$100
$100 or something. You know, it's like a 4-hour gig for $100. It's very hard to put a value on it, but I don't even know.
And Pat, I think the difficulty in Lafayette is we're about to go experience this free festival.
Right.
So we have free festivals everywhere,
Right.
which makes the idea of paying to go see a band that much more of an obstacle.
Right.
Because
No, I
we're used to our
understand
music
that part
being
of it.
free.
Yeah.
And so it makes it very difficult. But I mean, like the all ages, it's like get Liquid Death to sponsor that, underwrite it. It's like there are ways you can be creative, even from an entrepreneurship and partnerships. And I think it goes back to just collaboration and communication and connection. That's what I think is the most valuable.
Y'all are gonna leave here with some cat.
Yes.
I've got some notes.
We are recording this session
Destroy-
and
yeah, I
there's
was
a
like,
long
"Let's
to-do
do it."
list. Look, I know it's like 12:30 right now and that's what time the session was gonna end, but it seems like there's some more questions coming. But I do know that we have working artists on at the front of the house, so if anybody needs to leave, I understand. But if anybody wants to stay and answer some more questions, then I think that the audience would love that. So,
I'm gonna run out.
yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry, but if you do have any more questions, please you can contact me. I'm really happy to help, try to answer questions. I really want everybody to give a big round of applause.